Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. Hope you're having a decent morning. You know what? Every once in a while, man, we can hang out and just sort of be intimate. Lumen, how you doing? Huh? I hope you're having a decent day. Malachi, I'm glad that you are here. People, this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Hey, Bubbles, good day to you as well. Naomi Hales, how are you? This is going to be a fun one, people. And I hate to say that. I really do. But there are times you just got to take a little bit of pleasure in some of the idiots that walk this planet. Naomi, good to see you. Christy, nice to see you. Goosebump 801, what's happening? And from Massachusetts, hello, Butterfly, a.k.a. Pajama Pixie. Just as I am, good to see you. Natalie VB Light Breeze, good to see you. Martha, how are you, Martha? Beta, how are you? Hey, looks like the Johnny Scoville. Law Nerd fan, there you go. Millie the Dandelion, Kiwi Nan, how are you? Susanna Dana, hey, cup of coffee. Well, it's great to see you too. It really is. It's and this is a crazy story, is it not, Lumen? I mean, that about sums it up for us, doesn't it? Hello, Mittens, good to see you. The Arabian Bard, good to see you. Hey, Buster Crochet, Cindy Plumley, how you been? Yeah, cat in the basket. She's kind of been on strike. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on with Squirrel in the Basket. She's been a little well, you know. Blast from the past. How you been? Hope you're doing all right. Armine! Well, it's good to catch you on a live. That's awesome. That is awesome. It really is. Sweet Liberty, good to see you. Sarah is her own worst enemy. Well, someone gets it already. It really is something. Yeah, this is absolutely crazy, and we're going to have some fun with it. Jane Aldrich, good to see you. Melissa Merrill, how are you? Cassandra! You know, here's the thing. We've talked about this before, right? We really have. We've talked about this one once before, but this one, man, oh man. Like, this is one of those things that convicts, right? People that have done time across the world, but especially here in the United States. Robin Miners, good to see you. Debbie Blair, what's happening? Good deal. People in the U.S., convicts are going to go, I'm sorry, what was the deal that was put on the table? People, you don't have to be a law nerd. No offense, law nerd. You don't have to really be into any of this to take a look at this case and go, this is the most guilty person you've ever seen. Usually there's some gray area in everything, right? There really is. How often is there really a smoking gun? Unless you're watching something on Law and Order, or you're watching something on television where very nicely they wrap all of that crap up in the 45 minutes. It doesn't work like that, right? Because there's usually not that much evidence. People say, well, it's a circumstantial case. Almost all cases are circumstantial evidence, right? This woman videotaped her crime, and she narrated it. We could touch on that. Unfortunately, most of what she said was really foul. But the takeaway was, I don't care that you're inside that suitcase dying. If you have lived under a rock and have no idea what I'm talking about, Sarah Boone is a woman who had a bit of a night of drinking with her boyfriend. Now, they had a fairly tumultuous relationship. A lot of times the cops got called out for domestic violence. This was not a what you would call a loving couple. She claimed she wasn't drunk. There's a lot of really cool video. Her boyfriend was Jorge Torres Jr., and he was not a large man. He was small enough to get into a suitcase that she zipped him up in. She told the police and the people in 911 when she called that they were playing hide and seek. You see, they were playing hide and seek, and it kind of went bad. Did you guys ever play hide and seek? I assume that this is a international type of game that kids play, right? The idea is you go hide, and then someone tries to find you. If the person zips you up in the suitcase, I can't imagine tracking you down should be that difficult. Not sure how this works out with the whole hide and seek thing. One of the most unusual defenses I've ever heard. But here's the deal. He films more than once. And in the second filming, the suitcase is moved, right? It's moved quite a bit. leading people to believe that it has been turned over and maybe even kicked down a flight of stairs. DJ Daddy-O, good to see you. There was a lot of abuse to Jorge. When they took, when the autopsy was done, he looked like he had the crap beat out of him. Then he was put in a suitcase and then zipped up. She has changed her story so many times, it's unbelievable. She's also changed her lawyers so many times, it's unbelievable. About 9 so far she has gone through. She's also tried to represent herself. This has been a dumpster fire of proportion, right? You will not come across too much that is worse than this, really. Roberta, does your heart good to see my, what a nice thing to say. Wow. Wow. Admission, when I was 6 or 7, I played hide and seek by myself, only child, and locked myself in a cedar chest. Still embarrassed 40 years later. Well, I'll be damned. You know something? This happens a lot. You know, there's a lot of things where kids hide. You know, do you remember? It was a guy tried to pull a scam about the kid they thought that went up in the balloon, and the press comes out and the kid says, "Yeah, Dad, you told me to go hide. Remember?" Oh man, one of the great moments in film. If you happen to know what I'm talking about, it's incredible. I'm sorry to hear that you're in pain, Melissa Merrill. What are your thoughts and prayers for Melissa Merrill? Melissa Merrill, I mean. Body pain sucks. You know? Yeah, it was a very awkward moment, wasn't it? It really was. It was one of the funniest things ever. We watch full monetized. Thank you. You are fully monetized. How about that? Huh? Buster Crochet. Congratulations. How cool is that, everybody? Huh? That is so cool. Good for you. You know, never had a doubt. Never had a doubt. And I love the message. It's a beautiful, beautiful ripple that you're putting out into the world. I love that. I do. Couldn't be happier for you. Congratulations. That is awesome. Now, this is a good point. Johnny Scoville says, almost as awkward as Sarah Boone's face when she realized that she filmed what she did. If you watched the interrogation of her the second time after they have found the film, and they say, well, there's some video on there. There's the split second that you can see. And it's that split second that only somebody that's done too much drugs will know what I'm talking about. It's that moment where you partied too hard, you blacked something out, somebody mentions it, and you go, oh, wow, we were at that place, right? Someone says, yeah, well, that was after we went to McDonald's, man. You ate like 6 hamburgers, and you go, oh, man, I remember stopping at McDonald's. No wonder I don't feel. There was that moment where she went, oh, my God, I filmed him in that suitcase. That's still on my phone. I mean, she gave the phone up. Right? Here, go ahead and look through it. She did not think that was going to be on there. Cindy Plumley, how are you? Tony Suter, good to see you. Thanks for always being such a great person, Tony Suter. Love having you here. I really do. Estelle, good to see you from South Africa. You know what it is, people? I don't. But boy, do we have a lot of people from South Africa. I love that. We really have got a good base down there. And I think I might be able to visit that country. There's a lot of them that I can't. Oh, thank you, Blessed to Crochet. Somebody's turning green. I love when that happens because everybody looks better in green. Here's the deal. So why are we here today talking about this woman? Well, why would I call this woman the dumbest defendant that ever lived? Well, here you go, people. Every once in a while, when a case drags on ad nauseum, right? When a case goes and goes and goes, and this case has been going for years because of all of the interruptions and new lawyers and stupid decisions on the part of the defendant, this has really dragged on like very few cases. Now, they would kind of like to see this come to an end. So they do what they do in all cases, which is to offer a deal, right? Offer a deal that is so solid that it really entices the criminal, right? The defendant to take the deal, right? So when they offer a deal, you have to realize that you hear numbers, convicts hear different numbers. Because when they say, all right, we can offer you a deal right now. You plead guilty to manslaughter. right? We give you, say, 10 years, and you go, yeah, I'm not doing 10 years. Well, you wouldn't do 10 years, right? You wouldn't do close to 10 years. You're going to end up doing 65%, something along those lines. And then there's different programs that you could do. Well, what it comes down to, and I promise you, her attorney has explained this to her, and so has every single jailhouse lawyer in there, every friend she's got, everybody, right? Everybody has told her what this means. Looking good in green. Thank you. Light breeze. Oh, a cool name. She knew she was looking at getting out of prison. Yes, she has had psychiatric evaluations, a bunch of them. She had an opportunity to be walking out of prison in less than 6 years. 6 years, right? 5 3/4, 5 and some change. Yes, this is the lady that stuffed her husband in a suitcase and filmed it. She is so convinced that she's going to walk that there's no way she's going to do 5 years in prison. Let me explain to you the hell that this woman is going to endure, right? Because she's looking at a deuce at a minimum, right? She's looking at 22 years is what she's looking at. And that's honestly maybe the best case scenario. This woman could be looking at life very, very easy. And whether you want to believe this or not, if you don't take deals, they treat you a whole lot worse. I've told the horror stories on here before. I knew guys in the federal system who were offered 5 years or 10 years, right? And said, I'm not taking this. I'll take it all the way to the box. And then when the time comes to get sentenced, the judge gives them 40 years or 45 years. And you go, good God, right? There's no going back. There's no saying, oh man, I really screwed up. Or what about at year 10 going in there and saying, you remember when you offered me that deal for 5 and I didn't take it? Well, I'm an idiot. And I've done double that now, right? And I haven't done anything wrong. No, sir. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So for Sarah Boone, when she hits that 5 3/4 year mark and she realizes that I could be out right now, right? My son would be about getting ready to go into college, freshman in college years, somewhere in there. Maybe a little older than that. But he sure as hell wouldn't be getting ready to sign up with AARP. And that's probably where her kid is going to be by the time she gets out. And here's the thing. If you ever watch the interviews that this woman did, it's sad in a funny way. I mean, it is. It's horrifically sad. The reason that I can laugh at it is because of the cruelty that this woman doled out to this guy. The fact is she's taking real joy in those videos, laughing at him when he's saying, I can't breathe. And the evidence on the body shows that she didn't just zip him up in there and let him pass away. She was kicking that suitcase all over the place, right? She may have, hey, Kristen Melinda, she may have even shoved it down a flight of stairs. Rolling Stone, good to see you. Think of the depravity of that, right? And you had a shot at manslaughter, right? You had a shot at murder too. You had a shot at something other than holy hell, you sicko, right? You said to him, this is for the things you did to me, right? That's my name. Don't wear it out. F you, you deserve this. F you, you deserve this. Millie the Dandelion says, is she going for insanity at this point? Because there's just no words. It's utterly delusional. Here's the problem with the insanity thing. They offered what she was going to be looking at, honestly, if she had done all time off for good behavior, because none of that gets weighed in when you start hearing the deal. Time off for good behavior, doing 65%. What she was looking at, calculated out, is just under 6 years. Now, that's the best case scenario. If she got in a fist fight, that means they're going to take away some good time. She's going to do a little bit longer. But on the flip side of that, she could also get in there and say, I'm going to take domestic violence courses. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take this. And all of those things can shorten it even more. But this woman could have been back on the street in 6 years. Back on the street in 6 years. It's astounding that she's going to turn this down, right? Absolutely astounding. When they were interrogating this woman, she couldn't understand the concept of, I didn't mean to kill him. If I didn't mean to kill him, you can't convict me. And it doesn't seem like anybody could explain to her that this intent thing, like you zipped him up in there. The fact that you say you didn't mean to kill him in the process, well, that's a shame. It's like saying I shoved a guy off a bridge. I didn't think it was going to, I didn't want him to kill him. I was just sort of, it almost seems as if she's insane. But if you want to go with the insanity plea in this, in America, what you have to prove is that you didn't know that what you were doing was wrong, right? You didn't understand that zipping him up in that suitcase, right, was wrong. The difference between right and wrong becomes the burden of proof on the insanity thing. You take a look at like Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, right? This man was dismembering people that he had SA'd, right? Picked up at bars, brought home, SA'd. In some cases, drilled holes into their head to fill the brain cavity with acid in hopes that he could make a zombie sex slave. Does that sound sane to you? Right? No, that doesn't sound sane. He then cooked body parts and ate them. Once again, does that sound sane to you? But by the definition of the law, he was sane. He could stand trial. He knew what he was doing was messed up. And how do we know that? Well, because he tried to cover up his actions. He tried to hide what he was doing. All of those things show that you know the difference between right and wrong. So it doesn't really become because so often we look at someone and go, how the hell could Jeffrey Dahmer be found sane? Right? He's not quite right. Right? Some of the things that you see people do and still, but it comes down to, did you know that what you were doing at that moment was wrong? And she knew what she was doing. I have not seen that, Goosebump 801. I have not. Off topic comments, psychological evaluations. I truly think every single law enforcement officer should have to have one before starting. Also, every couple of years, they should prove that they can cope. You know something? I'll be really honest with you. I think that this is a very, very legitimate comment. For real. I did some stuff over the course of my my career as a bad person that gave people in law enforcement the opportunity to tune me up a little bit. Justified. I'm not saying that anything they did to me, they didn't do just for shits and giggles. I did something every time to kind of bring this on myself. But I got worked over by a bunch of them at one point, and I promise you that none of those people would pass that kind of profile. The things that they were doing, you have to have something wrong with you to be able to continue to. I was handcuffed, and they were beating the crap out of me and coming back for it. Right, smack me around and then come back 20 minutes later and do it again. You got to have something wrong with you to be able to continue to do that and enjoy it. So I think that's a legit point, and I think we may see it in the future. There's certainly a shift right now in how people view law enforcement, and I'll tell you something. I'm not a guy that says that we need to get rid of police officers. It would be a really frightening place without them. Take this from a retired crim. You don't want a world without police officers. It would look a lot like prison, and you wouldn't like that. I promise. It would suck. But I think the idea of really retraining and the idea of making sure that these people are, it's a tough job, right? It's a very tough job. If your job puts you in contact with people on a daily basis who are at their worst, right? If a cop shows up to a scene, more often than not, they're not showing up and there's people at their best, right? So over time, it's got to be something that really wears down on people. And I really wish that they took care of them more. The lawyer reported she was offered 15. Well, there you go. She wouldn't be doing anywhere near 15. The point that I'm making is not, and again, I said this early on in the show, when people hear 10 years or 15 years, it's not what a convict hears. Take how long she's been sitting in jail already, which she's going to get time served for, and break all of it down, doing 65% of the sentence. When it's all said and done, that offer, she'd have been on the street in 6 years. And if you listen to everything that the lawyer says when you get to the end of it. I promise you, if they break down how much time she'll actually have to do, it's just under 6 years. She'd be back on the street. I promise you. That's what it comes down to. Now, it could have been 15 that she's offered. She'd be walking in 6, and she's not going to be. She is absolutely not going to be. Do you think the husband wasn't so smart to get into the suitcase? You know something? This is one of those things that has me so perplexed, right? Honestly, so perplexed. Why did the guy get in the suitcase? Do you think he could fit in it? I mean, I just cannot imagine allowing somebody to zip me up in it. I mean, I'm claustrophobic, so it's, you're not going to get me to climb into the friggin' thing in the first place, but it's such a bizarre thing, right? How did it? Yeah, she's been in over 4 years now. Yes, 6 more, goosebump. I'm not saying she'd be out in 2 years. If she would only have had it done, Martha says, 15 years. That drops to 65%. Then take the 4+ she's already served, leaving 5.75 years. The point is this: never, and I mean never, right? No one is gonna get a deal this good. What this woman did is so depraved. If this goes in front of 12 people, what do you think 12 people are gonna think? They're going to watch that video. They're going to listen to a man plead for his life, beg for his life. I can't breathe. They're going to see that suitcase in 2 different positions. Okay? In one of them, he's got to be upside down, right? With all of the weight of the body pressing down onto him to suffocate him. This is horrifying. It really is. This has got to be one of the most painful ways, one of the most torturous ways that you could take somebody out. It's absolutely evil. And this woman, right? This woman, in her infinite wisdom, thinks that a jury of her peers are going to listen to this case and think that, well, she didn't do it on purpose, right? So obviously we should let her go. Look at all of the stuff she's done for him over the course of the time she's known him. And it's funny because we're on the lifeboat. Hey, Annie Oakley. This is one of those things that we are on the lifeboat, yeah? This is interesting, Melissa. And I'll hit that in 1 second. But in the interview, she talks a lot about she's not a drinker. She does not drink, right? The denial is incredible, right? She is not a drinker. It's not what she's into. She drinks a little bit every once in a while. This woman drank to the point of blacking out, right? She did not remember that she filmed that. She had no memory of that at all. That was obvious. It's funny. It's not funny, haha, but it's a glaring in your face glimpse of the disease, right? This woman obviously was deep in the disease. And when they start getting ready to take her off to jail, she gets very, very concerned about some pills she's got. Wants to make sure they're going to be able to get those pills down there. Those pills, right, mixed with alcohol would have made it even worse. She said these pills are for her anxiety. Take a benzo, mix it with alcohol, and bad things happen. The slurring of her voice, right? When you hear her on that, you didn't have to watch, right? You hear that voice and you go, yeah, the person talking is looped. They are liquored up to beat hell. You're behind. What do I think about the Miranda issue hearing? That Miranda issue hearing, to me, obviously they would love to be able to get everything tossed out, right? I mean, and these things are, if they're not done, it's going to leave things open for appeal. I don't think there's a shot in hell of what they're saying is that she had been Mirandized the day before, right? Now they bring her back in and they want to talk to her about what they now know on the phone, and they didn't go blah 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 through the entire Miranda again. They did, however, say you do realize that the rights that we read to you yesterday, those still exist. You still have all those, and she acknowledged that. I don't see any court in the land that's going to say this woman was not aware of the fact that she could have a lawyer present. This woman was definitely not aware of the fact that, she had the right to shut her pie hole. She has not been able to shut her pie hole at any time. She doesn't do it on phones. She doesn't do it in the unit. She runs her jibs nonstop. I think it is her defining characteristic. And I don't think that there's any chance whatsoever that, it will get any traction. They were both drunk, to be sure, Barbara. Absolutely. They were both wasted. Goosebump says, I think he weighed something like 110 pounds. I thought I read 117. Maybe I'm wrong. I read a bunch of cases. I could have been confusing that with one of the other ones. You know what? Lumen says, hallelujah. Husband is a retired cop, 27 years. Psych evals should be done once a year and not only the hiring phase. I think that would be great. And I'm not saying this from a point of being a dick. If for no other reason than to protect some people that are in a really, really rugged job, right? It's like any other job, in my opinion, right? You get sick of what you do, right? It starts grating on you. And, I think over time that can become very dangerous, right? I think people get to a point where how many times are you going to have somebody spit at you? How many times are you going to have somebody call you, every 4-letter word? How many times are you going to have to deal with someone until one night you just want to close your fist and pop one of them in the jaw? I don't think I would make a very good cop. Right? I don't think that would have worked out very well for me. Flip Fox says defense attorney Bruce Rivers said it would end up being 5 years. I'll tell you something. I'm a fan of Bruce Rivers. I love that cat. I really do. He's an awful lot of fun to watch. I have watched his coverage of this. I have not watched his coverage of her screwing up her the plea, but I have watched him cover her in the past, and he does a really good job at it. Tommy Bird says, yeah, I got beat by a West Virginia state trooper while handcuffed behind my back for sticking my thumb out to catch a ride. The story is much longer, but needless to say, it was not the best night. And these things happen, and sadly, the rest of the world doesn't believe it, right? You hear this all the time. When I tell people the story of what was done to me, now look, I punched a cop. I punched a corrections officer, right, which is the dumbest thing you can do inside. I mean, I guess stabbing one might be worse, but attacking an officer is the dumbest thing you can do in the world. I'll take all of the credit for that. That was the dumbest thing ever. But when I tell people the story of what was done to me after that, more often than not, they don't believe it. And I don't blame them, because you want to believe that the people that we trust that we put into that level of authority are going to not abuse that level of authority. But sadly, it doesn't always work out that way. Human Ant says there's a theory she knocked him out and put him in the suitcase. And that theory may have some traction, right? There's a mark on his head that would lead you to believe that maybe that happened. I think that even at let's say he's 110 or he's 117, right? It's not a big man, but you get 117 pounds knocked out. Moving that around is a lot harder than you would think it is, right? That's really a difficult thing to move an unconscious human at any weight. It's a hard thing to do. I have a feeling, and maybe I'm crazy, but I bet it was more of a joking around, laughing kind of thing, where she said, there's no way you could fit in that, right? Or, you know what? Guaranteed you could. Look how small you are. You could fit in that thing. And she got him in there, and how she got it zipped, I don't know. Maybe sat on top of it and started zipping it. I mean, if you sat on someone that was inside that, you could probably get the thing zipped up. And depending on how drunk he was. In another dimension, I'm this woman's lawyer, and I'm having a field day in court. I love that. That may be the coolest thing anyone has ever said. While we're talking about a case, I mean that. Hey, well, I'm glad that you're here, my Sissy Ann. Yeah, Missy Ann. At 1.25, I'm probably hard to listen to. At 2, I'm almost impossible to listen to. Krista Mona says, I don't know. When I was a kid, I was playing hide and seek. I hid in a trunk. The other kid locked me in. Adult hide and seek. Yeah, I mean, that's what she's claiming anyway, right? I mean, she's claiming that. But Maybe, right? Maybe he got in that thing, like, and let the thing fall over. And when she was looking, she went, found the suitcase and zipped it up. That's a possibility. I struggle to believe that two drunk people were playing hide and seek in a 2-bedroom apartment. I don't know. I struggle to believe that. I think that it doesn't pass the smell test at any level. But it is, I think, what she's going with. Wow. See this? See this? Very, very good. This is a great comment, and it is absolutely a fact. She does not understand that jail and prison are two really different things. Her smart mouth and her arrogant attitude will get her tuned up fast in prison. And we're talking about, I, again, never been in a woman's prison. I have, however, now spoken to 3 or 4 women that have done a decent amount of time. And while it is definitely different than a man's prison, I am led to believe that her mouth would get her in trouble really, really quickly, right? I promise, if it was a dude, guys like that last a day. I mean, they learn in a day. They last a lot longer than that, but they learned in a day. She laughed as her boyfriend begged for her life. This is a fact, right? And there's nothing about this that's theory. She filmed it. There are timestamps on this thing to let us know that we know that she was aware of how long he was in that suitcase just while she was filming. If that's all it was, right? She should spend the rest of her life in prison. Sarah Boone seems to be more delusional than smart enough to intentionally delay the trial or interfere with it in some other way. You know, here's the thing. There's no friggin' benefit, right? She can drag this out for 10 years. There are guys who will try to keep something from going to trial as long as possible because they have enemies inside the prison system. And they know they're safe in the county jail, and they're terrified that once they leave county jail and get to prison that they're going to get got, right? So they will drag it out and drag it out and drag it out. And if they can do the first 7 years of their sentence in county jail, they'd be happy to do that. With her, not every lawyer that's left has been her fault. There's been some weird stuff, but she's not an easy person to deal with. Chris at Heart says, and now she admitted that she hit the suitcase with a baseball bat. I have not heard that. But if that is the truth, that is horrifying. That is horrifying. Diane, good to see you. Has anyone else heard that? Yeah, she's a drinker. How funny is it that she says she is not a drinker? Huh? Yeah, I don't drink. I Live For Now says 103 pounds. You know what? 103, 117, 120, 130. He was 5'2" and weighed 103, according to Margaret McGee. At any way you shake this, this was not a large man, right? The part of this that is disturbing as hell is the video. It's not going to get thrown out. It is going to be in, right? Oops, sorry. There's absolutely no way that the jury is not going to see that. Sharon Dixon, thank you so much. I love it. Looking good and green, and I truly appreciate you. Oh, no. Kestrel. Kestrel says, I am facing one of my worst fears in 2 hours. I'm terrified, and I can't take sedatives yet. This is so hard. Dentist is my second worst fear, and I'm scared of the problems. You know something? I'm terrified of dentists. Straight up terrified of them. Can't stand going to the dentist, honestly. I'd rather get in a fist fight with 2 dudes than go to the dentist. I have more like the plague. I understand where you're coming from. But like anything else, what you got to do is remove your focus from that. If you allow your brain to take you in that direction, you're going to go down a rabbit hole that's going to make it really, really worse, right? We need to do what you can to stop focusing on the inevitable, right? It's going to happen. No 2 ways about it, right? You're going to go. It's going to happen. Start looking at the end of it. Honestly, it's what I do. I'll go in and journal about it like it's over. I start thinking in terms of, oh, and I promise you, you're going to get through this. No one should be penalized for mental health. No one should be penalized for mental health. I agree with you on this, right? I do. However, there's got to be a place for people whose mental health, right? There's got to be something for a place for people whose mental health causes them to do things that that hurt people. I did time with people that I thought, it's sad this person's locked up because they don't have the brain pan, right? They don't have the understanding really to have ended up where they are, right? That's a sad thing. But unfortunately, you still have to deal with those people. Thank you so much for the support, by the way. Poe on the Go said he would do a video with you. Well, I will have to reach out to Poe on the Go, I guess. And you know what? This is not a disrespect thing. I guarantee you that I know who Poe on the Go is, and I've probably even seen his stuff. But there are days I remember everything, and there are days I'm really bad at it. And right now, I'm struggling to remember where I know that name from. And I don't mean that with disrespect. It's just part of my brain, unfortunately. Anna Banana says, I heard that she had used a bat. Oh my God, that's horrid. It really is. It's amazing to me, Tommy Bird. They prescribed triazolam. Never even heard of it. You know something? I've never heard of triazolam. However, it sounds like a benzo to me, right? Usually, any of those drugs that have like alprazolam, right? Diazepam, they all have that kind of AM sound at the end of them. I would guess that is a benzo, and I would take it how they tell you to, and it should make it a little easier, A deliberate case of homicidal hide and seek. Was she filming it for herself or for the infamy of being a murderer? Interesting. I'll be honest with you. I think she was so wasted that she thought what was going on was funny. And I think she recorded it for that reason. And I'll tell you something. I don't believe that she tried to kill this guy. That may come as a shock to people, but I don't believe she tried to kill this guy. I just think that it is depraved indifference like nothing else ever has been. I think the fact that she filmed it proves that she wasn't trying to do it for murder. I think she was having a good time torturing this guy because she felt as if he had tortured her. She was drunk as hell. She wasn't making a very good decision, obviously. But I don't think this was one of those situations where she was just trying to kill him. If she was, it's not really the right. Zip him up, walk away, right? Or once you zip him up, beat him with a bat until it's over. But the filming and the mocking make no sense unless you're intending to enjoy that later. And if you know that this guy's going to die in that suitcase, then I would imagine filming like that wouldn't have been on her mind. However, she was so wasted she didn't remember filming. I'm telling you, watch that video over and over again. I have watched it so many times. That one spot where they say, there's some videos in your phone of last night. She had no idea, man. She had no idea. Make asylums great again. It's the video is horrifying. Her boyfriend was arrested 4 times for domestic violence. She was arrested for domestic violence once. The video is absolutely horrific. Thank you, Blast from the Past. You know what? I do know. Yes. Thank you. He's a retired Detroit. I do know who he is. And not a fan of the cult of Scientology, right? I know who it is. That's awesome. I will reach out to him. I think it would be fun to talk to a retired cop. And Detroit, good God in heaven, I bet he's got stories. I mean, you want to talk about a tough place to to be a cop? Detroit's a tough town, man. Detroit is a tough town. I've been in a lot of tough places. That's a tough town. The Rolling Stone says, I think at some point she went into a blackout. Exactly when is the question, right? Booyah. Yeah, no, Halcyon is not a benzo. Halcyon is not a benzodiazepine at all. No, it is a different drug. It's an antipsychotic, and it is a heavy-duty one. I think at some point she went in blackout. When? When is the question? Well, we know by looking at that video that at that point she was having fun. Right? That's me. Don't wear it out. Right? At that point, she was having a pretty good time. Does she go upstairs to use the restroom? Because I'll tell you something. And I've said this before, and I don't honestly. This is not a subject that I like talking about a lot on here because I think since I don't talk about exes by name ever. But I was married to a woman once who struggled really, really hard with alcohol. God bless her. She has been sober for 22 years, somewhere in there, without so much as a stumble. She's been fantastic. She's and got her life back in a big way. But she used to drink to unbelievable excess on a daily basis. Sometimes it would be a fifth of bourbon. Sometimes it would be 2 bottles of wine. But for a girl that weighed 125, 130 pounds, you would not believe the amount of alcohol that she could consume. What this meant was that for at least 5 years of my life, I had to put her to sleep at night because she would go to the bathroom and fall asleep doing it. She would be leaning against the wall in the toilet, asleep, and that was every single day of her life until she got sober. That's how it happened. And I would not be surprised at all if Sarah Boone went in to use the restroom, fell asleep on the toilet, and whatever. She fell asleep somewhere. I don't believe that she went up and lied down with him in a suitcase. I don't. As wasted as she is, that doesn't make sense to me. Even that drunk, I don't think that. I bet she went to the bathroom. I bet she passed out on a toilet. I think she probably went to do something and passed out. I think when you're to the point where you black the hell out the night before, there's a really good chance at some point, right, the computer's going to turn off. She said she fell asleep. Well, people that drunk don't technically fall asleep. Not in my humble opinion. They pass out. Yes, I had heard this too. It's just, honestly. Zarina says, I cannot stand sloppy male alcoholics. They literally repulse me. I'll be honest. Since starting the lifeboat, I have had an opportunity to talk to people in every single stage of abuse, addiction, use, every stage of the way. And on every substance you can think of. I mean, with the exception of probably PCP, I've talked to people that do it. I've never talked to anyone that had a serious problem with it here on the boat. But the most difficult people to talk to, without fail, are the drinkers, right? You can't have a conversation with somebody who has alcohol abuse disorder until they're sober, right? And the sad part of that is if you get to that point of the addiction where you're that far gone, when they're sober, the only thing they can think about is the next shot, and you can't really have a conversation. The guys that started AA used to keep booze there under the sink to keep people who were in the DTs from dying, because you can die from acute alcohol withdrawal if you're that much of if you're that addicted to the substance. And very often they found that after giving them about 2 shots, enough to take the edge off so that their hand weren't shaking, but they weren't intoxicated in any way, that's when they could sit down and have a conversation with these people. And I remember that with my wife. there was a window of her drunkenness, right? Every night there was a window when I could have a decent conversation and we could talk about some things that might be important or things that could be funny or whatever. And it might be 15 to 20 minutes, right? And then after that, whatever, there's no point in having a conversation because whatever I said, she isn't going to remember in the morning anyway. That's right, Martha. Bill Wilson. And I've said many times in the past, I am not a 12-step guy, but without Bill Wilson and the people that came up with the 12 steps, none of us would be having this conversation because they invented the concept that you could actually come back from addiction. So this is interesting. I agree with you, Tommy. So how does she now claim battered spouse? Her videos and interrogations will contradict anything she claims. You're absolutely right. But what she's going to say is this, right? What the lawyer is going to say is, what do you hear her say when he's locked up in that suitcase? What do you really hear her say? He says, I can't breathe. She says, yeah, like when you choke me, right? He says, every time he starts to say something, she reminds him of abuse that he did to her, right? So I believe that what they're going to say is she reached her snapping point, right? The alcohol, everything came together. And this was a woman that had been beaten and worked over and stressed out and cheated on and for so long that at that moment when she zipped him up, joking around, she zipped him up in that suitcase. They were having a great day. And she went right past that stage, right? She got to that stage of the intoxication where, how many times have you seen it? The guy or gal at a party, I love you guys. You guys are the best, man. It's so much fun. I love coming over here, And then 10 minutes later, they're like, that guy Ted always kind of got on my nerves. I don't know what the deal with Ted was. And then 15 minutes later, they are raging like you've never seen, and every other word is an MF. We all know those drunks. We know people who drink like that. And you can watch them go from being a happy-go-lucky person to a raging jerk-off, right, by the end of their drinking. She may have hit that. She may have gone from being that happy-go-lucky drinker to the, screw him. I don't care if he dies in that suitcase. Who knows? Andrew B says, I've been through recovery programs. I thought I had it bad withdrawing until I met my first true alcoholic going through DTs. I never drank much before that. Never have since. It's incredible, isn't it? It's absolutely incredible. Full hallucinations, right? When someone is really in the throes of the delirium tremens, they're hearing things, they're seeing things. The sensations that they describe are some of the most horrific things in the world. And there, but for the grace of God, I very easily could have, that could have been my poison. Turned out not to be. My poison happened to be pain medication, but it is a very, very ugly addiction, and it is one that I feel more sorry for than anyone else. I've always said this. I hurt for people who suffer with alcohol abuse disorder because I don't have to watch heroin ads during the Super Bowl, right? I don't have to watch ads for my drug of choice. I don't have to see them on billboards. I don't have to, when I go into 7-Eleven, when I go, to get my, whatever I'm buying in there, there's not smack being sold over the counter. But if your drug of choice is alcohol, absolutely, it's everywhere, right? And it's not just everywhere. It's advertised as part of being a good time, right? When good friends get together, right? Gotta have it. It's terrible. They've been advertising it to us since we're children, right? That, good times were made for Michelob or whatever but it was always, about friendships and parties and when people get together and love and all of that. And you know what? That's just BS. It really is. It's absolute BS. But unfortunately, they can advertise that way, and that's kind of a bummer. On the flip side of that, we are a country that allows the advertising of drugs. And you go, yeah, but those aren't the kind of drugs. No, they sure are. They advertise drugs that people can go in and then tell doctors they want, which is pretty nasty. Melissa says, I don't know how I avoided the DTs. I wasn't medically supported. Grace of God stuff, right? And sometimes, look, there are people who can have the DTs and survive them because it's not a guaranteed killer, but it can be, right? So never, ever, 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 ever plan on quitting alcohol unless you talk to a doctor first, and depending on how much you're using. But if you're planning on quitting anything, the best case scenario is always talk to a medical professional before you do, and get a team. Get a team of people that are going to help you, right? Doctors got to be a huge part of that team. In fact, it's got to be how everything else kind of builds off of that, right? What we do here is peer support. People come together and lift each other up and encourage concepts like not suffering in silence, right? So that you don't end up going down a road where the addiction leads to horror stories, right? Not too worried about any of you zipping somebody up in a suitcase. God, but horror stories nonetheless. If they had heroin at the six-pack store, I'd be in some trouble. You and me both, Andrew B. You and me both. Although I'll tell you something. They have stuff, Lisa Hill, we're going to let it slide this time. They have stuff there that is close, right? For real. They're selling stuff in gas stations right now that trip the MU receptors. They're selling stuff in gas stations right now that you can get addicted to and that you will go through withdrawals if you're not on. No way around it. That's a fact, right? It's a thing. They call it gas station heroin. Tommy, I was sober 15 years before I could be with people in a drinking situation. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. So Serena makes a solid point. I'm sorry, but there's some truth to that. Serena says, I don't feel bad for them when they called me a junkie bitch. They have a soapbox due to the fact that it's legal. And sadly, there's truth to that. There really is. I remember, and if you happen to be addicted to an illicit substance, it's I very much remember people looking down their snout at me like, hey, what I do, at least what I do is legal. Well, I'll be damned. Participated in a recovery rally a few weeks ago here in Coeur d'Alene. Would love to have you out here next year and speak at one. You know something? That would be an honor, my friend. Folks, I talk about this guy all the time. He is not just a member of the Lifeboat. He's a very, very good friend of mine. And this is a man who did everything right. For real. Made a mistake in his life, and since then has done everything right, to the point where the governor came in and said, we're gonna hand out we're gonna terminate your obligation to the state. He received the ultimate. Right? Proud of you, man. Truthfully love Jeffrey Canale. It's so much more than just a guy that watches this channel. He and I did time together, and I learned an amazing amount from Jeffrey Canale. And thank you, Jeffrey. It's been good, and I would love to be there. Proud of you. I'd love to see you here. Really great, good dude, people. I hadn't been able to drink since I had to start caring for my mom, even though she has passed. Drinking even a little makes me feel sick as you know. Yeah. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, Kestrel. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Coeur d'Alene, yeah. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is absolutely beautiful. I used to ski. So I used to spend an awful lot of time going out that way. Licensed real estate agents in 3 states now, and have my own tax practice. Thank you. Retired crim, ladies and gentlemen, a man who went to prison, served his time, got out, and got his sentence committed because he did everything right. Right, the stuff that I say can be done, right? When I talk about taking a terrible situation and doing everything right afterwards, right? Turning your life around kind of stuff. This guy's the poster child for it. Real talk. which is a beautiful thing. It really is. Have any of you all read Lonesome Dove? Janie was frequently beaten by old Bill. She waited until he passed out. She proceeded to beat the hell out of him with a cast iron frying pan and break his knees. Dark sarcasm. Do you know why I laughed? I laughed because I don't think that there's an inmate on planet Earth that has not read Lonesome Dove. That is there are just certain books. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but when you get to prisoner, I'm like, all right, you have to read this. That's one of them. I promise. Every inmate has read that. Great story. Absolutely great story. Now, as much as I can really say fantastic things about Jeffrey Canale, my left elbow, however, still pops and clicks and requires surgery because the man bent it in a direction that it was never meant to bend. Nevertheless, I have forgiven him. Yeah, pretty tough. Was that made into a series? Lonesome Dove was a series? Beautiful. And I won't be able to see it. Well, that sucks. Gary McKay says, 20 years ago, my ex-girlfriend wanted to quit alcohol. So I brought her out with me on a truck. Oh, my God. She viciously had DTs. Got so bad I had her admitted to a hospital in Minneapolis, unable to overcome and passed. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You know what? I hope that this is something that everybody hears, because I can't tell you how many times this happens. This is an epidemic, honestly, and people just don't seem to know. But I promise you, right? The acute alcohol withdrawal, if you are bad enough, if you are deep enough into the addiction of alcoholism, cold turkey will kill you. You have to talk to a doctor, and there are things that they can do. And the crazy thing is this. They're going to make it a lot less painful, right? Not only are they going to make sure that you don't expire, or you're not going to die in the process, but they're going to make it a hell of a lot less painful. And how are they going to do it? With benzos. Because benzos and alcohol are so similar that instead of you going into the DTs, they're going to give you just enough of a benzodiazepine so that they can step you down to a safe level where then they're going to allow you to quit. But it has to be controlled. It has to be safe. Sorry. I get these, I have these things that updates that pop up. So just in case something weird happens with any of the cases that we're following. Speaking of which, a lot of is being made about the fact that Diddy has a court date today. Doesn't mean anything. I promise it doesn't. This is where they get together and they start talking about setting calendars and doing things like that. Really kind of worthless. They may or may not drag his carcass down there for it. I don't know. Sometimes they would bring me down for these kind of hearings, and sometimes they wouldn't. Angie Mo, good to see you, Angie Mo. How are you? Have I read In Cold Blood? Yeah. Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's on VHS somewhere in her house. Yeah, I never knew that they had done a series of that. It is a fantastic book, man. It really is. Lumen says, Gary, I'm so very sorry. I lost my BFF 17 years ago. Heart attack during withdrawal, 42 years old. The number of people I have met since starting the lifeboat who lost significant others or children or loved ones in general to acute alcohol withdrawal, dying from alcohol withdrawal, kicking alcohol. It's astounding how many people. It's heartbreaking. But you know what a hangover is, people? Huh? We've all had a hangover, right? You know what a hangover is? Withdrawal. Yeah. It's your body going into withdrawal. That's why if you do a little of the hair of the dog, all of a sudden you don't feel it because you're getting loaded again. But it is alcohol withdrawal. So if you do that long enough, man, it gets bad. Dennis from Boston, good to see you, man. Barbara Bunker. I read Cannery Row. I don't remember very much of it, unfortunately. But I used to read a lot of Steinbeck. Hey, Dale Cox. And thoughts and prayers to everybody in Florida. I know that this was barreling down and it's left an awful lot of damage, and my thoughts and prayers are out with everybody. Everybody that's out there. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing because you guys are funny as hell. Look at this. Fatal Attraction should be mandatory viewing for teenage boys. You know what? You know what's sad is that things like that fade into oblivion, right? Like if somebody calls someone a bunny boiler now, no one even knows what that means. Like, it was such a funny part of my youth. Flick Fox, that's okay, and I'm glad you said this, right? Because there are no, and here's the other thing. Most people don't know what DTs actually means anyway. You will hear people, you say detoxing or things of that nature. It is the delirium tremens, and it is something caused by acute alcohol withdrawal, and you will get the shakes, you can get hallucinations, you get heart palpitations, seizures. It kills people. I have lost 17 kilograms since February. This boat saved my health. Thank you, Tommy. Love from the UK. You know what? Oh, I love that. I really do. I love that. And it's amazing, right? There's the reason we call this the lifeboat is we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. If you're using food to make you feel better, what difference is that, right? You use food to make you feel better. This dude goes and places a bet. And that's what makes him feel better. And you go, how is that the same thing? Because it is. Because it is. Because both things are releasing a chemical in your brain to make you feel okay for a while. Shopping. People who will buy one thing after another, after another, after another. Maybe they don't even need it, right? Maybe they don't even need it. I knew a girl that was a skier, and I remember going into her house once, and she had like a room full of clothing that had tags on it. You know, if I didn't know her personally, I would have said, "What did you steal it?" No, she just buys it, buys and buys and buys and buys, because that moment at which you pull the trigger and you buy gives you a feeling of whatever, right? It sounds insane, but all of them are doing the same thing. It's releasing a chemical inside your brain that is going to help, right? Hold on one second. Sorry. It is a situation, people. Kieran says, congrats. I'm on a similar path, down 15 kilograms at the moment. Fantastic. Fantastic. I am in recovery from opioids as well. I never wanted to detox non-medically. Why put myself through that? My best friend is a straight alcoholic, and she has had some of the worst symptoms. Christy Durbin, well done. Medical assisted treatment is genius for opiate use. Listen up really carefully. If you're listening to me, right, and I'm going to use if this offends you, then chances are you're not one, because it's not going to offend the people I'm talking to. But if you're a junkie, okay, and you're still getting high and you're on junk today, right, you're fixing, you can get clean without being in pain, right? Straight up. You will not have to go through the horrific withdrawals that you associate with quitting. That there are ways around that. You may not believe that because I didn't, but my fear of going through that kept me on that crap for decades. The fear of going through the withdrawal kept me on that crap for decades. There is a way to get off that without pain. It's amazing. It really is absolutely amazing, but you got to ask for help, and you got to realize that you need it. But I've met very few people that do opiates that don't understand that they have a problem. Right. Tony Obins, all right. We love the replay crew. So let's do just a quick recap, shall we? Sarah Boone is the dumbest woman that ever lived in terms of not taking the deal that they just put on the table. She had an opportunity where she was going to see the world again after being a murderous, horrific woman. At least a depraved human being that didn't care at all for human life. And you know what? Just quickly, that's what they were saying with this deal. What they were saying with this deal was exactly what she's been saying the whole time. It was a stupid damn accident. They said it was a stupid accident. Here's the deal. Plead to the stupid accident. 15 years, right? With what you got in, you'll be out in 6. Plead to a stupid accident. Nah, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. Instead, why don't you prove that I murdered him? Wow, what an idiot. What an idiot. Brandy Lewis says, I was addicted to opioids for 7 years. I would never have been able to quit cold turkey. Not. Withdrawals were too bad. Subutex was a lifesaver for me. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. The number of people who are on Subutex or Suboxone or Vivitrol or any of the medical assisted treatments, any of the ways that you can go in and get the shot or any of the medical assisted treatments, the number of people that are on that right now because of the lifeboat, it's what I am most proud of on earth, for real. If that's all I do and I die, I'll be cool with the number of people that we have been able to convince that they don't have to continue to do dope every day, stick a needle in their arm every day. When that number got past 20, I thought, oh my God, when that number got past 100, I started to realize that this is something that's going to be around for a long time, and we're going to keep doing this. Sadly, we're not only are we not making a dent, we're not making a mark, right? We're not scratching the surface, much less denting it, and it's like that story of the kid on the beach, and there's that, 200,000 starfish that have been all washed up on the beach, and they're dying in the sun. And the kid's running and grabbing them and throwing them back into the water as fast as he can. And the guy walks up and says, "Kid, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to save them." And he said, "It's not making a difference." He said, "It's making a difference to this one." Right? We're not going to save all of them, and we're not even going to make a dent, but it's going to make a big ass difference to the person that we save. Right? And the 100+ people that are clean now, it makes a big difference to them. Fancy Nancy, good to see you. Fancy Nancy says, Suboxone is incredible. It helped my mother quit smoking and relieve her back pain. You know what? It's talk to your doctor. If you're struggling with opiate addiction, talk to a doctor. If you say, I can't even get out of my house, I can't even do this, most states you can do this telehealth, right? There are a lot of different ways you can do it out there. I don't get paid by any of them. There are some that recommend the lifeboat as counseling. We're pretty proud of that. So Quick MD is one that has helped a lot of people. And again, if they want you to do counseling, they will allow the lifeboat to be part of that counseling. So, but it is a beautiful thing. It does completely change lives. Brandy Lewis says, my surroundings also played a big part in that. If I wasn't around other people that wanted to get clean and stay clean, I would never have been able to do it. Of course. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Because what you've got is, the cliche, you got to change people, places, things. Okay. You got to change people, places, things, and you got to change your thoughts, right? Bigger than anything. But if you continue to do the exact same things, you're like, I'm not drinking anymore ever again. I promise you. What are you doing Friday nights? Well, I'm going down to the dart league. I throw darts every Friday night. Where? At the pub. Guess what? I got $500. Says you ain't going to make it. Right? I'll give you 3-to-1 odds. You're not going to continue to go. It would be like me going to a shooting parlor where a room full of people are cooking dope and slamming it, walking in to tell them how I can help them get clean. Probably do that once. I might be able to do that twice. But the day's going to come where I'm going to sit down with those guys because I'm not capable of that. And I got a lot of sobriety under my belt. It's you got to change your people. You got to change places. You got to change things. And you got to change how you think, right? What would be the best thing to do if someone is having DTs and can't get quick medical attention? I've called for an ambulance a couple of times or a couple of homeless people. Luckily, they got there real fast. If it's the DTs, I'm not a doctor, right? So I would never give out any kind of medical advice. But I have watched people who are going through the DTs. It is acute alcohol withdrawal. Alcohol stops it, plain and simple. I mean, right? That's if a guy is completely in the DTs and he gets alcohol, his body now has exactly what it is needing. Sad but true. I'm not suggesting you run out and administer anything. I'm not a doctor. What you do is you call 911 and just hope that that they get there. Sadly, that's the truth. If it was a friend of mine and that friend was in my house, I would make sure that they got a shot of booze. That's what they used to do at AA, right? When guys started to go into the DTs, they would go get gin and they would give them a shot. And if that stopped it, great. If they didn't, they'd give them another shot. It's a real story. Real story. Kiwinan says the lifeboat has saved me. My losing weight is also because I'm 6 months sober. First time admitting this out loud to the crew, but I feel supported enough. Wow, that's cool. That right there is for Kiwinan. And you know what? It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to admit, right? It really is. It's a very hard thing to admit out loud. But the first time you do, your life will start to change. Because you're not 6 months away from being a bad person. That's not what it is, right? You're 6 months in control of a disease that used to control you. You weren't a bad person 6 months ago, and you got nothing to be ashamed of. You got a crap load to be proud of, but you don't have anything to be ashamed of. It's a disease. Plain and simple, it's a disease. And boy, are we proud of you, man. Wow. Wow, that is cool. That is that's awesome, man. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. That is awesome. Man, that's cool. Hello, Mom. Good to see you. Honestly, that is that's good stuff. I do too, and I'm gonna leave it on that one because it's a high note that I don't think is gonna get any better than that. I really don't. Kiwinan, man, boy, oh boy, is that awesome! Oh man, that's cool. You know, that really is. That is awesome, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. Made my day. That made my day. Sarah Boone is an idiot. Should have taken that deal, right? From year 5 to the rest of the time she's in there, that's all she's going to think about. They gave her a deal that said you're just an idiot that made a mistake. She's going to choose instead to be a killer. And she had that as a choice. She is an idiot. Kiwinan, you are a hero. I will see you all in the next one. I'm Tommy. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Congrats, Kiwinan. Big time. Love it. Love it. Love it.